Hello, fourth grade, and welcome to lesson 4-4. In this lesson, we're going to work on using arrays and partial products. So this is very similar to area models. Let's go ahead and watch our short lesson video, and then we'll get into our notes and our guided practice together.
How can you multiply using an array? Think about this question during the lesson. There are 13 toy dogs in each row of a carnival booth. 20 rows contain toy bulldogs, and 4 rows contain toy huskies. How many toy dogs are there? To solve this problem, you need to first find how many rows of toy dogs are in the booth. There are 24 rows of toy dogs, with 13 toy dogs in each row. What two numbers should you multiply to find how many toy dogs there are?
Select your answer.
Multiply 24 and 13. Use an array to find 24 times 13. Separate each factor into tens and ones. Color each section a different color. Which section represents 20 times 10? The red section represents 20 times 10. 12, 40, 60, and 200 are partial products. Add the number of squares in each part of the array. Why add rather than multiply to find the product? You add because each part of the model is a part of the product, and the parts add together to make a whole. There are 312 toy dogs in the booth. Check if the answer is reasonable. 24 times 13 equals 312 is close to 25 times 10 equals 250. The answer is reasonable. Why should you check if the answer is reasonable? Checking if your product is reasonable helps to ensure that you have not made an error in your calculations or forgotten to include one of the partial products. Now you know how to multiply using an array.
Good job!
All right, so now that we've watched our short video, let's go ahead and get started on our notes. Once we're done with our notes, we're going to go ahead and work on our guided practice together. Now, for arrays and partial products, remember you can use an array and a partial product and partial products to multiply two-digit numbers by other two-digit numbers. And this is very similar to using an area model. Now, the example that I have for you over here is 12 times 24. So I'm going to have 12 lines with 24 in each line to make my array. So if I go ahead and take a look at my drawing, over here I have, I counted it out and I measured. So from here to here is 12, and from here to here is 24. So 12 squares down with 24 squares across. So there's 12 rows over here with 24 in each row. So this whole thing is 12. This whole side over here is 24 from this end all the way to this end. Now I'm going to cut it by place value. So this is 20 and that's 4. This is 10 and that's 2. And because when I make copies of the notes for you guys sometimes, because they're in black and white, the color wouldn't show. So what I did was a different pattern of lines or dots in each one of these to separate those sections. So this becomes 10 times 20 over here. That's 200. This is 10 times 4, which gives us 40. This section is 2 times 20, the length of that long side right here. 2 times 20 is 40. And then this small section over here is 2 times 4, which gives us 8. So what I did was I broke apart my numbers into separate rectangles. So pretend this is each a separate rectangle to find the partial products. Then we add those partial products together. So again, the 10 times the 20 was this big area. The 10 times the 4 was this area over here to the right. The 2 times the 20 was the long bottom area. And then the 2 times the 4 was this small area right here. 2 times 20, or sorry, 10 times 20 was 200. 10 times 4 was 40. 2 times 20 was 40, and 2 times 4 is 8. I added all of those partial products together to get 288. Now, the difference between using an array and using an area model is an array has to have the exact number in it. So this is exactly 24 squares across and exactly 12 squares down. So that's the biggest difference here. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our guided practice. We'll work through that together. So we put our title. For you guys, you're going to be working directly in your workbook. Now, number 1 in our guided practice says, in the example on the previous page, what 4 simpler multiplication problems were used to find 24 times 13? So they broke these apart, remember, into their individual numbers. So this is 20 plus 4. And this was 10 plus 3. So when they made this, they multiplied the 10s by each group and the ones by each group. So they did 20 times 10 plus 20 times 3 plus 4 times 10 plus 4 times 3. Now, if we draw that out, or actually they had it drawn out on your book on the previous page. So they broke it apart. They did the 10s, 10 and 10s when they wrote it out. So this isn't going to be an exact array, but we'll call this one an area model. So if this, for example, was 24 times 13, and said this is 10, and this is 4, and then this is 10, and then this is 3. Sorry, this side was 20. So this would be 20 times 10, and then 4 times 10, and then this side, I'm going to turn my paper, 20 times 3, and this is 4 times 3. So all we did was we cut it up into its separate pieces and wrote out the multiplications. The 10s times the 10s, the 10s times the first group of ones, the 10s times the second group of ones, and then the ones times the ones. For number 2, it says, how can you use properties to help you find the product of 24 times 13? So think about the properties that we used over here. So we can use the distributive property to break apart our numbers and use partial products to help find the answer. So we used our distributive property to break these into their separate place values. And then we used the partial product. So we also used over here our grouping property, right? Our associative property to help separate those out. Now, if I'm going to solve this to find the product, because they're asking me to find the product, I'm going to solve each part. So 20 times 10 plus, you said 20 times 3 plus 4 times 10 plus 4 times 3. So I wrote it back out. Now I'm going to solve each part over here. 20 times 10 is 200, right? 2 times 1 is 2 plus those 2 zeros. 20 times 3, we know 2 times 3 is 6, times a group of 10 is 60. 4 times 10, we know is 40, and we know 4 times 3 is 12. So we know 60 plus 40 is 100. So then we can say 200 plus 100 plus 12 equals 312. So I know that 24 times 13 equals 312. All right, now on to number 3. So over here, remember, I found my partial products, each one of these, and then I added my partial products together to find my whole answer. For number 3, it says use the array drawn on a grid to find the product. Check if your answer is reasonable. So they had 24 times 16. Now I don't have enough squares on my paper to make 24, so I'm going to make it like an area model where it doesn't use the exact number of squares like it would in an array. So, I'm going to cut it about there. So this is 20 and 4. This is 10 and 6 to make 16. Now I need to find my partial product. So over here, 20 times 10. And here is 20 times 6. And then over here is 10, right? That's that long side times 4. And then this is 4 times 6. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and find my partial products. So 20 times 10, and then 20 times 6, and then 10 times 4, and 4 times 6. So I wrote them all out. 20 times 10, we know is going to give us 200. 20 times 6 will give us 120, because 2 times 6 is 12, plus that extra 0. 10 times 4 will give us 40, and 4 times 6 will give us 24. And we need to add our partial products together. So 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 4 is 4. 2 plus 4 plus 2 is 8. And 2 plus 1 is 3. So I know 384 is the answer to 24 times 16. So we found our partial products for each part. So this times this gives us this number. This times this will give us this number. This times this will give us this number. And then this times this will give us this last number down here. Go through your multiplication carefully. Make sure you double check your answers. And then we're going to be learning later on how to do our stacking and multiplying with multi-digit numbers. If you have any questions about this so far, let me know, fourth grade. Otherwise, I hope you guys have an amazing day. Take care. Bye-bye.